Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
As you are getting up into this Thursday morning, you're probably pouring yourself a cup of tea, you're getting your children ready for school, or you're finishing final touches on that report that you must submit today. Well, whatever it is that you're doing, wherever it is that you must go this Thursday, there is these 6 words that can actually get you through the day. And they're very simple. Whatever happens, you can handle it. Welcome to Thursday, the 20th day of May 2021. My name is Priscilla Nalwoga, and may I say good morning to you, Uganda, as we enter the 4th and final day of the swearing in of members of parliament into the 11th parliament. We are really excited how this is actually going to crown down. But as I said, whatever it is that I'm going to do today, I can handle it because I always have 2 smart, awesome, best men that I do this with every single day. And I do this with Felix Nkunda. Good morning to you, Felix.
Good morning, Priscilla. How are you?
You're drinking tea on me. Of course, I'm not fine.
Well,
yeah.
Well, anyway, it is another beautiful day, as you did say, the day of our Lord, the day that is full of blessings and, of course, another opportunities, but more so, a day for us to also engulf ourselves in the true love of nature, beauty, and who we are as by definition. No wonder, by definition, there stands a man so next to you, Kirabo, Nyonyintono, Robert. Bonjour.
Bonjour, monsieur.
Ça va?
Thank you so much for your humble greeting. A lovely morning to you, Felix and Priscilla. Of course, to our viewer there, thank you so much for choosing UBC to start your day. It is a Thursday, like Priscilla said, and all we can say is have a positive mindset. Chase negativity away from your mind, and then you're good to conquer the world with whatever challenges it may bring towards you. Members of Parliament, today is going to be done business for all the elected. By closure of business, we're sure they'll have been sworn in and they'll be ready to start business hopefully next week after election of Speaker and Deputy Speaker of Parliament. Many made a lot of promises, Priscilla. But my concern is, I've been watching a couple of members of Parliament after being sworn in, and the promises they're making. I'm going to build roads, my people now, I'm going to extend electricity. I'm like, hey, God, help us. I think campaigns are over when you could kind of tell us the impossible that you're going to do. But even now that you've been sworn in, at least let's talk about how you're going to legislate, how you're going to ensure certain things, but not the things you promised us in campaigns, the likes of I'll build a bridge where there is no river or nothing.
It goes back to the conversation that we have been having over the course of time, where we were referring to some of these members of parliament not exactly knowing their roles and the functions of parliament. So they get in here thinking, yeah, it's about roads and dams and ponds and whatever it is, yet it's more than that to be a member of parliament into the 11th house. So that is why we were talking about orientation, how important it is for them to understand, and how beautiful it would have been that orientation comes before even swearing in, so that they exactly know what they are committing the next 5 years to as persons representing constituencies and districts all over the country.
Then Felix, I saw one member of parliament, that is John, is it Masila of Burumba something county. He was meant to repeat the oath. He said parliament now has a rasta. Said in the name of Jah. And I was told, please repeat. Let's briefly significance of the very words of this oath and why people should stick to exactly what is penned down or typed for them to follow.
It's just stereotype. It's just, honestly, even if you asked the clerk of parliament, wouldn't break it down. It is just something that you have done by practice over time. I don't know why wouldn't. In fact, I was even having an argument yesterday. Why don't people swear in their local languages instead of these continuous insults of, you know, I solemne Solomon. Just tell people, Nze, Kirabo, Ndaida, Mulinya lya Katonda. I mean, what's the big deal with the language? I find that also very demeaning for whoever is in charge. I think the public service should find a way of working around that. Because away from the English, what is the purpose? Even if English being the official language, at the end of the day, what's the cause of forcing people to speak words? I saw one of the ladies, someone was reading and she was just repeating. Now, is that an oath? You know, someone was reading in English, she almost more or less also almost repeated the other person's name. So what I'm saying is, I think it fails the purpose of why someone should take oath struggling, yet they should take oath which should be coming from the heart. But just something lastly before we get into our stories, Priscilla and Robert, I'll be thinking and just wanted to ask you guys, what is the biggest contradiction of your school versus real life? The real contradiction, like you look at what they said in school and what you're living or what you've met in life, like what the heck, what's happened? What did this person...
Well, the contradiction for me is plain and simple. In school, you have sort of a format, a structure that you must abide by to be able to go through school. However, when you step out into the real world, you have to formulate your own structure to be able to survive in the world. So that is where, you know, the challenge comes in. That most of these kids that are used to a structured environment, now when they step out into the unstructured, they may fail to actually find their own format of structure into whatever it is that life is going to lead them into. Now, for me, that's a real flip side, if I can call it that.
Well, talking about school, real life, we also move to some of the stories that were in our bulletins in the last few hours. In case you missed them, here is a recap of some. Beginning with the outgoing Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Honorable Jacob Oulanyah, who handed over office citing end of his tenure. Oulanyah, who looks forward to other opportunities, said he was voted into the office on the 19th of May 2016 and so the handover is in good faith. This was at Parliament of Uganda, where he also handed over the official vehicle, subsequently driving out in his personal car. Shortly after conclusion of the morning session for swearing in of members of Parliament, outgoing Deputy Speaker Jacob Oulanyah drove in. He was here to hand over his office, Deputy Speaker citing end of his tenure. As to whether he was doing this in good faith is a question that stems from his ambitions to become the next Speaker of Parliament. Handing over the official vehicle, he proceeded to hand over his office. Oulanyah emphasized his earlier stance of handing over office whose expiry had clocked. This comes a few days after the sitting of the Central Executive Committee of the ruling party, NRM, met. The meeting adopted new guidelines and a roadmap for choosing a flag bearer for the speakership and the deputy speaker of the 11th Parliament.
Well, Honorable Oulanyah is the first to officially really put down the tools of duty of office. Other members of Parliament are still waiting for the Attorney General to write to them to tell them that, look here, your work is done, thank you so much, and you can now freely move on. And we're still looking at the swearing-in, a ceremony of members of the 11th Parliament, which has entered day 4 with legislators sharing their agendas for the next 5 years. Yesterday, among the prominent personalities that took their oath on the third day included CDF, the Deputy CDF. The number of members for Parliament sworn in so far is 398. The Chief of Defence Forces, General David Muhoozi, was among the 65 MPs that were sworn in on the third day, bringing the number of those sworn in to 398 members of Parliament since Monday. General Muhoozi told the press that the army should expect nothing less than effective representation. He also hinted on matters of security forces that are being handled. Others were Ministers Dr. Joyce Kaduchu and Robin Anabanja, Persis Namuganza, among others. They shared agendas for their next 5 years of parliamentary works. The swearing-in exercise concludes today with Omoro County MP and Deputy Speaker Jacob Oulanyah, among others, expected to swear in.
While still in relation to Parliament, the same members of Parliament subscribing to the National Resistance Movement have expressed interest in the position of Speaker and Deputy Speaker. Woman Member of Parliament for Kamuli District, Rebecca Kadaga, who seeks to retain the speakership, has already picked nomination forms from the NRM Electoral Commission office in Kyadondo. Others who have expressed interest are Anita Amongi and Thomas Tayebwa, both vying for the deputy speakership. At around 11:25 a.m., the first aspirant for the position of Deputy Speaker of Parliament arrived at Plot 10 Kyadondo Road to pick nomination forms. In company of FUFA President Moses Magogo, Bukedi, a woman member of Parliament, Anita Amongi, then presented her credentials to NRM Electoral Commission chairperson. Dr. Tangodoy warned all aspirants against interfering with the process and minimizing the position of other candidates in the race. His warning follows a talk show on one of the media houses where some aspirants were heard undermining their opponents. Anita, among others, was followed by Thomas Tayebwa, who arrived in the afternoon. Kamuli woman legislator Rebecca Kadaga arrived a few minutes after the chairperson had stepped out at around 3 p.m. Kadaga was received by the vice chairperson John Alimpa Kajija. Kajija said the exercise will be open until Friday. This will be followed by completion of candidates list before presentation to the Central Executive Committee for voting before primary elections will be held on Sunday.
And finally, the Kampala City Council Authority has embarked on sensitizing urban dwellers about the risk of smoking in public, starting with hotel owners. The in charge of Enforcing Tobacco Control Act in KCCA, Peter Setenda, says they still have a challenge of people smuggling cigarettes into the country. A few years ago, government passed the Tobacco Control 2015 policy aimed at controlling smoking in the public. This was a preventative measure against cancer-related diseases, and now KCCA has embarked on educating the public about the danger of smoking in public. Peter Setenda, who is in the charge of Enforcing Tobacco Control Act in KCCA, says that smuggling tobacco flavors from abroad remains a challenge. He also warns those still selling cigarettes that along the way, armed laws are going to actually catch up with them.
Very interesting, Priscilla, when we see KCCA moving, that is to enforce the tobacco control. It seems even much as this law was put in place, little attention has been given. Passive smoking is still a problem in Uganda. And of course, the sale and readily available, sometimes certain things, I think we don't get them right.
Well, we can never get them right. It starts with the policies that exist now. The law enforcers are the ones who are supposed to enforce these policies into action, the ones that we need more of so that we can actually see the realization of these policies. But away from that, of course, you can always follow us on our social media platforms, on Twitter at UBC TV Uganda for updates. And as we're concluding on day 4 swearing in of members of parliament, they will be giving you live updates every single second and minute. But follow us on Good Morning Uganda on YouTube, UBC Television Uganda. Equally on Facebook, you can go on the day with us on UBC TV. Now, speaking of which, we can look at the international stories. Gaza continues to be a loud conversation globally. We did have the president of the USA, Biden, trying to step away from interference with this particular matter. And Felix Nkunda, what do you have for us on the international scene? Well,
of course, related to that you're saying, Priscilla, will be looking at Netanyahu determined to continue with Gaza bombardment. Now, the Israeli jet fighters continue to pummel a Gaza Strip on Wednesday, flattering residential buildings and raising the death toll to at least 227. Now, the health minister of Gaza said the dead include 64 children and 38 women. On the 10th day of the escalating violence, the U.S. President, that is Joe Biden, discussed the Gaza event with Israel Prime Minister, that is Benjamin Netanyahu, saying that he expected a significant de-escalation today on the path of the ceasefire. Now, crossing over to U.S., we'll be looking at Republicans who defied Trump to back Capitol riot probe. Now, the Democratic-controlled U.S. House of Representatives has voted with Republican support for a commission of investigation in the Capitol riot. Now, the 35 Republicans defied their party leader and former president, that is Donald Trump, in siding with the Democrats by at least 252 to 175, establishing the inquiry. Now, Mr. Trump had urged Republicans to vote against the Democratic Trump. The bill looks unlikely to pass the upper chamber. Top Senate Republican Mitch Connell came out to say and make mention that the inquiry would be modeled on the commission that investigated the 9/11 attack on New York and Washington. Now, crossing over to Africa, we're looking at Malawi destroying nearly 20,000 expired COVID-19 shots. Now, Malawi health authorities have destroyed at least close to 20,000 doses of expired AstraZeneca vaccine, stating that the move would boost public confidence in the country's vaccine progress. The health minister, that is Kwazimbe Kadondo Chipondo, also put some of the vials on expired doses on an incarnate that did cause the destruction of Wednesday's Akamzu Central Hospital, Lingowe, in the capital. Now, he also came out to say that we are destroying these vaccines because government policy on no expired health commodities is to be used. And he also came out to say that historically, under the expanded immunization program, Malawi has no expired vaccine and may not need them anytime soon.
Felix, something very interesting when it comes to COVID-19 vaccines. Actually, even us in Uganda, come June, we are going to be destroying about 500,000 of these, according to what is coming in from the Ministry of Health. Remember, we were craving that there is scarcity, many countries are demanding. Now, it seems, even when you've had the vaccines, people have not fully embraced immunization. Yet at one point we thought it's just a blessing to have these vaccines. We should be yearning actually to ensure that every Ugandan, every African on this continent, once the vaccine is there, please go and take those jabs. Now what is happening? Some governments, some ministries of health are stranded. People seemingly are not approaching vaccination as they should have done so. Priscilla, have you taken a jab yet?
Anyway, yes, I've taken a malaria jab. I've taken so many jabs since I was born. I've been taking so many jabs. For me, my 2 cents on that conversation is, I remember some time back, I think in the beginning of April, we had World Health Organization, the bosses coming out to tell African countries that even though doses can expire, and they do expire, when they do expire, they can actually still exist and are functional for another 3 years after the expiry date. So for Malawi to actually come out and destroy expired doses of COVID-19 vaccines, for me, it's a clap, because we should be in charge of our own health. Yes, the recommendations are there, but as a country, and especially Ministry of Health in these different countries, for example, our very own Uganda, should have the sole responsibility to take care of Ugandans' health, not to just be getting orders from above somewhere and let you know that you can still keep them for another 3 months. Then why is there an expiry date on this? Because by the time you're putting an expiry date, you're saying that any time after this date, then it will step out of its condition upon which it should be, given to a person.
Felix, finally on this, I need your comment. Why they expire? Because they have not been consumed. People that would have gotten these vaccinations have not. What is your take on the response of people towards vaccination?
They're not expiring because people have not consumed them. These are donations. For Uganda, we're talking about donations, and these donations came and they have expiry dates on them. So not that people are not consuming them because
this is what happens, Priscilla. From the time we received these vaccines into the country, yes, government has tried to roll out, and they didn't come in when the date of when they're expiring. They didn't come already indicating they're expiring.
So question, when are our doses expiring?
Well, I saw around
according to who?
Ministry of Health.
Are you sure?
Yes. I saw also the UN representative in Uganda commenting that come June we could be doing off with about 500,000 doses. And now this brings a question that haven't we done enough sensitization to ensure people embrace these doses? Because when they were coming in, we were all like, we wish you can have these vaccines. And maybe we thought they would be used very shortly, and we would even have people yearning for more, which has not been the case.
There's so much to be done by the ministry, I guess, and government in terms of sensitizing people and making them understand. There are a lot of also contradictions in the people, a lot of contradictions on the airwaves, people saying, instead of scientific-led opinions, people are using sentiments and, of course, personal emotions and what. So we are having a challenge of how do we merge opinions vis-a-vis science. That's what is happening in the people domain. So people are choosing to take opinions because they don't have the right information from the ministry.
Well, we'll return after looking at some of the key issues that happen in our country, where we saw that as MPs were swearing in, also district chairpersons were being sworn in. So I want to look at the political leadership at districts, and this is what we are going to be discussing after this short break of music. We'll return with the newsroom. Good morning.
This is Good Morning Uganda.
Start your day informed, entertained, and of course we set the agenda. So to be an informed person, begin the day with us from 6:30 till the hour of 9. However, for these days, yes, at 8 we move to Parliament where the swearing in of members-elect has been going on, and today is the final day. But very interesting is that as members of Parliament were being sworn in, also district political leaderships were being sworn in, that is district chairpersons and of course the councillors. Many Ugandans have memories of Solomon swear, and all that. But also, today we want to focus and better understand what is the role of this leadership? What is their impact as far as transforming their lives, improving accountability at district levels? We have decentralization, we have ensuring that we have representation right from grassroots. Have we achieved? And what is also their capacity? And I don't do this alone. I'm with Priscilla and Felix Nkunda. Felix, to begin with, we have the president, we have the cabinet, executive and all that. We have members of parliament. We go to districts where we have both political and the technical wing as well. Leaders at these levels, elected leaders, took oath, and I know that exercise is still going on in some of the districts, the 146 districts. But let's better understand, have these served their purpose, or do they even have the capacity to serve?
The local governments per se.
Yes.
You see, something also important probably for us to note at inception of this discourse, you must know that they are also governed by a law. There's the existence of the Local Governments Act under the reappreciation of the administrative law to the latter. Now, in the same conceptual aspect, you realize that even all activities, so be in terms of administration, liaison, accountability, finance, just to mention but a few, are also governed by law, right? So this, in as much as you're seeing parliament, swearing in and all this, the people taking oath are also catering for a legal mandate. Most recent, you saw that some of the places or particular parts of this country were made or were lifted to city status. This meant that the areas that used to have chairman, LC5, now would be having mayors, for that matter. And just to mention, but if you're looking at areas like Jinja, you will be looking at Masaka, you'll be looking at Timbara, among others. Now, this means that the cities will fall under local government. But then, even under them, they have the same structures. You would have women representative, councillors. They have a full council because the mayorship has to carry on the same realm. Now, what is the, if you to go back, what was the purpose of government causing or putting in place local governments? That, as the word it is, local government. It was in satisfaction of an order that was passed or resolute that was in honoring the UN General Convention in terms of service delivery and appreciating the SDGs, that then moved government to understand a political principle called decentralization. And in this principle, Robert and Priscilla, you would have to have government more closer to its people through a local government. There's a central government, but there should be a local government. And that's why local governments have a different law when you study all together. And the major principle law that governs most of these local governments, if you appreciate, it's called administrative law, for that matter. That they are mostly practical under the law of administration. That one, you look at their major aspect is how do you use these communities to finance and facilitate their issues. That's why you see local governments have mandate under the act, by the way, to collect taxes at that level and use such remittances for, again, that level development. You understand? Now, take an example. Take an example. If you're looking at a city like Kampala, you understand, it has a mayor, it has an authority, luckily, as a capital city, but it also has councillors, it has a LC3, all these chambers, and it also has mandate to collect taxes, if you've noticed. When you see some of the taxes that KCCA collects, they are never remitted to government. It is simply that government puts an additional amount of money to run this operation. That's why, if you've seen lately, the budget of local governments has been greatly reduced, because the biggest castigation is on these local governments to collect their own money to facilitate their own operations. Now, the determinant factor of how fast that local area, that society, that jurisdiction will grow is entirely determined on the kind of leaders you vote. I am privileged to be friends with a few of them who have come in power, but you would judge by the demeanor, by the attitude, by the malice aforethought, if I may also use that, of that leader, and then you can imagine where it will go. When most of them were swearing in, the ones you saw, for some of them who meant amendment would say, it is time for us to work. We would start with the issue of garbage collection. Because they have, the mandate is within your hands. There's no way you're going to say that Chengera Town Council is blaming government for garbage collection, for road network. Those roads belong to, that's why if you've seen the biggest issue in Uganda in terms of infrastructure or communication road network is the friction between which roads belong to local government vis-a-vis which roads belong to central government. So all these things will be determined later on by the nature, the attitude, and the demeanor of the kind of people in these offices, because those people are directly responsible for the growth of those localities.
Priscilla, many a times you've had this discussion that we find that the political wing, those that are politically elected, vis-a-vis the technical wing of these local governments keep on clashing. Some accuse others of lacking capacity, knowledge, ability to interpret, to understand some documentations. Hence, the technical staffs tend to take them for granted and carry out a lot of extortion. We recently saw in the 10th Parliament where they had moved at least, let's look at some of the education level and all this, because for you to be a councillor, no education level is wanted upon you. Just wake up, you're Ugandan above 18, you have your national voters card, get there. And this is the friction. Do you think that this is something we should give a lot of attention, and with the status quo, will really these leaders be able to fight issues like corruption, follow up proper budgets, allocation, and cause influence?
Okay, so political leaders versus the technical leaders that you do have in the same local government is what you're referring to. Well, political leaders, you're calling them political leaders, but really for local government, they are leaders that are chosen amongst members of the communities that they belong to. And one of the reasons that's why they're chosen is because they are more aware of the nitty-gritty needs, the services that those communities need, and they are best to advocate for those services becoming better, or actually even being initiated in their different localities. So that is where the importance of these leaders comes in, and that is why they don't give high regard to education, because at the end of the day, you taking care of me does not need you to be educated. It just needs you to have a heart that looks out for beyond yourself. You look at your neighbor, your neighbor's neighbor, and how the community is. What's the drainage system in your community? How is the garbage in your community? Such small things, you look at them and it gives you a sense of wanting to actually take care of your community, and hence you're given a leadership position. Now, the importance of the technical wing is that they help such leaders to actually make informed decisions in terms of service delivery to the people that they represent. The technical wing knows they have plans for the communities. They know how they're going to execute the plans. They probably need money to execute those plans. And so it's best that there's a merger between the technical wing and the leaders representing the communities so that they can both understand. And our leaders also need to understand that, yes, they might have been represented by people, but that doesn't mean that you're the sharpest. You're not sharper than an engineer who knows the ground structuring of the community. You're not sharper than the representation of electricity that knows how to actually manage with the terrains and where the electricity poles should be going and shouldn't be going. So they need to appreciate that the technical wing is there to support them do their work. And the moment that comes in, that appreciation comes in, you will see better service delivery to the different communities that are given into. But also you've talked about issues of corruption. I think one of the other underlying...
Actually, one time His Excellency said, he was in Kololo, he said, so much money is being sent to districts. A lot of money mentioned how much we sent to Wachiso, and these huge money. So he was asking himself, I don't see this being translated into service delivery.
Just most recently, last week, we saw a report in Nakasongola. They had sent out over 4 billion shillings to set up structures for secondary schools. But to date, the financial year has ended and there's actually no groundwork that has been done. And the money has to go back to central government because it has not done the work it was supposed to be. One of the reasons is because of the cumbersome processing or procurement process. These people are supposed to put out adverts for contractors, and then the bids come in and whoever wins the bid. Now that process takes a forever time. One, because people want to benefit from it, aka corruption. And because they want to benefit from the process, they just, first of all, they benefit from the process in terms of how long it takes means that they're going to get money to keep this process going. That means they take a portion of that money. Then the contractor comes in and they also have to stress the contractor and cut them by the budget to be able to eat some. Also part of corruption. So by the time this contractor comes on board, they're challenged. Now there's another school in Luweero that was supposed to be put up. The contractor was given 4 localities to work on, the same contractor having to work on different districts, and he's supposed to be doing the same job. Now how do you expect him to actually be doing all these 4 projects at the same time with minimal probably
so this is why we question the
resources that he has.
Question then those that allege eyes on and off the political leadership that always say, for us it is eyes on. Our role is to make noise where things are not going well. Do they really have the capacity? Have they done this? Well, these are some of the things that we put to those that have assumed office. Many have been sworn in, but it's not all about saying finally I've been sworn in. It's about how effective your term is going to be. How are you going to deliver to transform the lives of people who, either it was raining or it was sunshine, and you had all this to cast their vote to see you in leadership. We shall return and we'll be looking at what is trending in the print media. Keep it on UBC. We'll return shortly. Every morning, we ensure that we give you an insight of what is happening in the print media, some of those catchy stories. I have the New Vision, and Felix will be taking you through the Daily Monitor. Well, in the New Vision, there is a very big headline, Olanya Kadaga ready for showdown. That is in the speakership race. We see government to seek new vaccine supplier, and also 7 whose USA investors Swearing-in ceremony, yes, jubilations as more MPs take oath. That was yesterday. Remember, today is the final day, and we'll be giving you all events as they unfold at Parliament. Then over 190 tenders inside for you and human waste, that is digesters, fail. Still, the new vision brings you more regarding Olanya handing over the office of the Deputy Speaker or moving out of office, leaving space for somebody after his tenure had expired. Yes, Felix.
Daily Monitor, Kadaga to sec back of Speaker contest there. Speaker of the Speakers of the dissolved 10th Parliament, Rebecca Kadaga, says it is undramatic for members of National Resistance Movement top organ to predetermine the party's flag bearer for speakership. Now, of course, in other news, fishermen wake up to dry lake, that is Kijana Bairoro. And of course, Uganda, Burundi to build road to bypass Rwanda. Now, of course, cases increase as new wave hits the country, and inside the papers, Netanyahu vows for more Gaza strikes, and COVID government stuck as India stops COVID-19 jab sale there. Of course, in history today, Vasco da Gama reaches India, and Uganda government ordered out of Buganda land, that is in 1966.
In the new vision, we still look at COVID-19, and India reports that is a record daily death. Things are not all that good as coronavirus. We see over 4,000 lives daily being lost in India. This is a record. Looking at how the region is performing, also the East African region, we look at the death toll in Rwanda, which is 346. Come to Kenya, 3,035. Then South Sudan, 115. Countries worst hit, that is in Africa, I have South Africa, Morocco, Tunisia, Ethiopia, Egypt, and Libya. Now, today in history, it was on this very date, the 20th of May, the year 1972, when Amin issued warning. That is, President Amin stressed the importance of separation, region, and politics while addressing a gathering. Then, still on the same date, May 20th, the year 1970, that's 1997. We see Clinton acts on Burma. He signed, that is an executive order banning U.S. investment in Burma, also known as Myanmar.
Well, of course, in sports now, Kiplimo qualifies for Tokyo, and legendary sports administrator, that is AK Retire, passes on, and Chetume stands URA to keep title relegation battle there. Now, Kasozi Akop hopeful as UGC captain's bell, but FUFA Big League, Ayeko Maroons in hostile split, but a stylish Kiplimo qualifies for Olympics, and we have work to do. Tachel there. And of course, Lori considers playing in Japan, and Uganda set for bridge Dennis landmark.
New Vision Sport, we have the top four. That is, we look at Star Times Uganda Premier League as the table stands. Who won? They bring you that. Also, Chiptegei bid fails. What is that? The New Vision brings you Chiptegei, and of course what transpired and what he was able to achieve, and a record there being given to you more. But these and more regarding sports, Ruben will be giving you more hints on this, but also Felix, what do you have there in the East African?
In the East African, we'll be looking at now Rwanda on course to host the list 2025 Cycling World Championship. And of course, Safaricom eyes Addis mobile money boom, and Rwanda traders count losses as Chogam deferred. Now officials ditched in walking the talk. Now why Famango there shut down AU peace envoy is what is in the papers, and things that will keep Museveni awake. Get yourself a copy of the East African also, and you will be able to know more and much of those stories.
Well, we'll leave you with Priscilla to take you through traffic updates, but I'm also saying Molin there, ready to take you through weather and more. But first, we begin with Priscilla, knowing how fast to get to your destination.
Well, thank you so much, Robert Kirabo. As we're looking at the traffic updates today, 20th May 2020, we are in the areas of Mengo, and one of the services that is well delivered in Mengo is the health service courtesy of Mengo Hospital. Now, we get to see the routes that you can use to actually get around Mengo. If you're going to the hospital, well and good, but there are so many alternative routes that you can actually go through to get into the area of Mengo. Now, the obvious route would be where you do have back Bakuli. And Bakuli comes in from Old Kampala Road. You do have Old Kampala Primary School, and this is where you do have the Bakuli traffic lights. Now from the Bakuli traffic lights, you would be going up Namirembe Hill, and there from Namirembe Hill you will be able to connect into Mengo, courtesy of that main Namirembe Road. Now this Namirembe Road, as you can see from the traffic lights at Bakuli, we do have red zones, especially for traffic that is coming in from Nankulabye, and you also do have traffic that is building up from Namirembe Road onto the traffic lights, and also from the traffic lights and taking the route of Gaddafi Road. Now this is where you do have a lot of challenges. Now this particular area has a lot of commuter taxis. So many people, there's so many small communities here that use public means of service, and that means that you're going to have so many commuter taxis on the route as people getting into the heart of the city. Now there's another alternative in case you're using a personal car and you actually do not want to go through this traffic jam at the traffic lights for Bakuli. Then you have the alternative of going through Old Kampala, and some of these shortcuts can actually lead you to Chadondo Road. One of the best shortcuts, of course, if you're coming from Makere, you can get onto Sir Apollo Kagwa Road, and then at Sir Apollo Kagwa Road there is that intersection that gives you Chadondo Road, and Chadondo Road is going to bring you and drop you in Butema Road. Now on Butema Road you can actually use Chadondo Road to connect into Namirembe Cathedral. Now this connection is interesting because it brings you right below the cathedral, and then you slope down into Mengo, and that would be a good alternative. And looking at it this morning, except for the traffic lights here that you have at Butema Road, alongside Chadondo Road on either side, you can actually make your way faster into Mengo. It drops you past the cathedral and right into the gate of Mengo Hospital. But there's also another alternative route. If you're coming in from the likes of Kasubi, you do have Nankulabye, there is another alternative route. Even if you're coming in from Wandegea, full gospel around the traffic lights there, and you actually are accessing Mengo through Makere, you can actually use another route, get into Nankulabye at the traffic lights where you do have the market, the trading center. From the traffic lights, instead of actually joining Butema Road, you can actually just go straight in through the traffic lights and you will be linked to Balintuma Road. Now this Balintuma Road, as you can see, is very clear, and it brings you right into the heart of Mengo. It drives you past Mengo Hospital, but below, the lower route that is below the hospital area code is what they call Balintuma Road. And Balintuma Road will bring you right into the trading center of Mengo as a community. Now, as you can see, it's only in the trading center that you do have some orange zones that are building up, and because feeder roads are actually feeding traffic from the residential areas, you do have a couple of campuses here. Ndeje University has a campus here, and other universities do have campuses in this area. Also, you do have schools that have resumed. Sir Apollo Kagwa Primary School is also having students back in school, and so it does speak into the orange zones that you're seeing. But since there's no red zone, meaning that the traffic is clear. Now, of course, from that you can actually see the rest of Albert Cook Road away from Mengo Trading Center, heading into Wakaliga, having a clear route. Past Lubiri SS, you get to see that getting into Natete, if you are using Wakaliga route, it's actually very, very clear. Now, this is going to drop us at the Natete traffic lights. For the traffic lights, obviously you will expect some orange to red zones and some green zones because it's entirely managed by the traffic lights. But if you want to see how good or bad the traffic is, you have to look away from the traffic lights. What does the street look like? Well, as you know, in this particular area, Natete and Nalukolongo, it's under construction, and so you will expect some serious jam building up on those construction routes here in Nalukolongo. And this dotted line here actually shows you the site that is now currently under construction. But away from that, if you want to see how it is traffic coming in from Busega, you do have some clear areas, and the traffic then starts to build up when you start to interact with the taxi park and the trading center. Then you get to come to Busega roundabout. red zone, red zone, red zone, red zone. Around the roundabout, you do have red zones that are picking up. But I'm pretty sure you know your way around there. Fuel prices today, you do have petrol that is at 4,000 to 20 shillings, 30 shillings, 50 shillings, depending on where you're fueling from. And you do have diesel prices that are at 3,850, 3,690. So it's in between there, depending on where you're fueling from. Now, the farther you are from town, surprisingly, the cheaper fuel is. So put that into consideration, because the closer you are to the central business area, the higher the fuel prices are. That's a tip from me to you to consider while you're fueling up this day. Of course, we do have to consider that weather does change everything and affect everything, most especially business. Molen Kanyene, who is here to give us updates in terms of weather and what the climate is going to be looking like today. Good morning to you, Molen.
Morning, Priscilla. Thank you very much for that traffic update. Now, in terms of weather today, I can see most areas are actually mostly clear, but we did start off with a few rains here and there across the central part of Lake Victoria. It is really looking like we still have that cloud passing through. Now, across the East African region, you can see we still have mostly very clear skies. Tanzania, Kenya, just a really sunny day. But coming back here at home, we do have that rain system that is starting to develop mostly across Lake Victoria, and that is the system that still brought us those rains early morning today across Kampala, Wakiso, parts of Entebbe, as well as much of western parts of Lake Victoria Basin. But the good news is that it is now starting to clear, and a lot of areas are already seeing some sun coming through, including even here in Kampala. We do have another system, though, that is developing, coming in from the central part of the region. Now, that will be bringing us mostly cloudy conditions. Now, this is likely to be just across a few areas across the central Lake Victoria Basin. But this that is really deep here is just coming all its way across western parts of Lake Victoria Basin. That takes in areas of Masaka, Rengo. You do look out for those rains that are coming your way this morning. But elsewhere in the country, we're seeing just cloudy conditions, and those who will be clearing soon with mostly sunny intervals. Now, across northern Uganda, we do have that cloudy system that is also starting to develop across Gulu. Probably will be bringing us just a few showers across that area, but will clear soon. That will be over a few areas. Much of the morning will be mostly intervals of sunny and just cloudy conditions. Midwestern Uganda is also looking cloudy right now across parts of Hoima, Masindi, just cloudy conditions. That system won't be bringing us rains not until later in the day. Otherwise, much of the country is having intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. Now, we take a further look into our forecast for today, where we're seeing most of the systems that are starting to develop today, but we do have a forecast for just isolated showers. Those will be across central Lake Victoria Basin. Much of it has already, we've already seen those rains across the Lake Victoria Basin, but temperatures will be at 26. Quite a pleasant morning as well, but much of the morning will be intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions. We move further to southwestern Uganda, where we do have Mbarara, Bushenyi, Rubirizi, and Uganda. We are forecasting intervals of sunny and cloudy conditions with a little bit of rains expected over there, but that will also be just 10 to 20% of that area, mostly isolated showers at 26 degrees. Now we move further to the rest of the areas we have for you. We do have Ruero, Wobulenzi, Nakaseke, and Nakasongola also falls in that category. We are forecasting isolated showers. Those will be across much of that region, but mostly a warm morning at 27 degrees. Now looking at Soroti, Moria, we do have Kumi as well. We are forecasting mostly a sunny day. There will be that cloud coming over, but mostly a sunny day, and temperatures will be at 27 degrees Celsius this morning. Now we do have a forecast for the Male region, Bududa, Buko. We have Sironko as well, where we are forecasting mostly cloudy conditions. We have the sun coming through, and that will take you all the way through this morning. Temperatures will be at 26. Now looking at also what we have across other regions, we have the western parts of Lake Victoria Basin that takes in Masaka, where we already see that rainy system that is developing. We're forecasting isolated showers where we will have in terms of sunny and cloudy conditions, but we do have that rain also coming through at temperatures going for 27 degrees centigrade. That is all we've had for you in terms of our forecast. Please stay tuned. We do have a live coverage across our social media network as well as YouTube. We are streaming live. Now stick around. We do have the agenda coming up, and later we will be having Parliament coverage for you. Good morning. My name is Maureen Kenyina.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala. This is Good Morning Uganda.
When you talk about our motherland Uganda, the Pearl of Africa, you cannot fail to smile because of the smile that fills the faces of the citizens. Our nice good weather and nature that sustains us all, that enables us all to continue each in their own way, because we are all different even according to each individual's work. But what joins us to become one person is the sweetness from the flavored drink Alleluia Jingati drink and Alleluia Tamarind drink. The flavor that quenches your thirst while at the same time treating and healing your body because it is 100% natural. Enjoy the drink that has got the tamarind juice in it. Made by Alleluia Reflexology, Healthy Solutions and Nutritional Research Center Limited. Get yourself a bottle of Alleluia from all shops around.
Experience 100% 4G speeds across Uganda with the Airtel 4G Pocket Wi-Fi available at 123,000 shillings only. It comes with 15 GB free for 1 month. Visit the nearest Airtel shop, device selling shop or Airtel online shop. www.airtel.co.ug/broadband-discover. Airtel, the smartphone network.
What does it mean to be closer together? It's taking the last bus home for a surprise visit. Closer together is strangers finding a connection. It's bringing home something much more than a box. It's the warmth of home, or the beginning of something new. There's magic in sharing the things that we love, because it's those things that bring us close together.
Ekya COVID-19 kijja kugwa if
so much for keeping it on UBC TV, the final day where members of parliament being sworn in. Well, away from that, today we want to focus more on the communities in diaspora. Many Ugandans are away from home, but with a heart of home, and actually they contribute lots of money annually as they send back money home to invest or even to help their loved ones. With me in studios, I'm privileged to have, that is the NRM chairperson in diaspora, Philip Kakulu. You're most welcome, Philip.
Thank you, Robert. Good morning.
Good morning. I last interacted with you during the time of COVID-19, where you had made a contribution of some relative millions to the fund to ensure that Uganda as a country embraced this. And thank you for that.
Thank you, sir.
I also want to thank you for being away from home, but with the heart of Uganda and for the good purposes. Because many times, you know, communities in diaspora, some have so much more done a bit of more harm than good. But I want to thank the NRM in diaspora that usually focus on national building and ensuring that the country goes to another level.
You're most welcome, sir.
To begin with, Philip, for the benefit and to throw more light to our viewer, let's understand when we refer to people in diaspora, what kind of group are we referring to? Because sometimes we are asylum seekers claim that people in diaspora. So give us a clear picture.
Robert, Ugandans in the diaspora are indeed of different strata, like you've mentioned. We have the professionals, you'll find the medical doctors, you find the teachers, you'll find the business people, you'll find the, you know, when you mention the word asylum seekers, I'll say majority of them are not asylum seekers because of the human rights as perceived. They're economic migrants. That's how we define them to us in the diaspora. So these members are looking for better pastures, but they know that through a disguised human rights kind of pretense could give them an easy access to an asylum status in their countries where they will have immigrated. But it boils down to economics. That's the basis. It's not political, it's not what, it's economics. They got to look for better pastures to make a saving and contribute indeed to their loved ones back home, as well as improve their lives. Yes.
When we talk about diaspora, we believe there are a couple of challenges there.
Correct.
And of course, many times we've done more of our talking and not come up with solutions. We want to first identify the key challenges that these people face, and also how best we can, or any proposals we can ensure we improve their livelihood, because they greatly do much as far as sending back home to transform the country's economy.
First of all, the Ugandans in the diaspora, their challenges are social and economic. One of the social challenges, for instance, of the recent times, we've been looking at the social media bars with, for example, the Middle East issues of domestic workers and all those guys that are doing the ordinary jobs in the Middle East. My view would be that because every time you see an embassy mentioned, from Saudi Arabia to UAE to Oman and all that, to me I think if these fellows would be organized and made into an association or create a forum, because we're in the fourth industrial revolution, it's a digital time, and we could tap into their views and how best they can improve. Through the association, we can easily identify, for example, we can develop an app, say, whoever is in a household and feels he's being persecuted or held incommunicado, they can place an app and the Ugandan within the area can easily reach this person. In that way, we keep in reach with our people. Secondly, if we have an organized grouping of these, for example, the Middle Eastern fellows that are doing the jobs they're doing, even as a party, as NLM, we could capitalize on them because they come back to make a difference in their lives. You know, you might not be voting directly, but when you are the one controlling the means of production or survival of that person in home. You can tell them nti banange wakayo mulonde bwe muti munonye kalika yero kekantusiza wano wentuse. So in that perspective you find that they can influence the body politics of a home area. So it's a very big constituency. Secondly, on the professionals, you find that we have always asked in the different forums of the diaspora that we contribute. You say at one time they said the diaspora was the biggest earner of Uganda's economy. If we are that recognized, why can't we have a constituency?
Do you want parliamentary representation?
Parliamentary representation.
Oh, Philip.
I see of recent we've seen the elderly have been given, they want to be listened to. The youth have been listened to. The disabled persons have been listened to. It means they make a contribution to the society. So we are part of the Ugandan society, though we live outside the country. So could we be listened to? We want to be heard. We want that voice. Even though some of our representatives have been lucky to come back home and get constituencies, we have Comrade Fredo Poloti, our vice chairman, who was in the UK. We have Comrade Kefa Chuanuka. You know, they've lived in the diaspora. They understand our challenges. But we are saying, can we have a constituency?
So how then would this person, because, you know, in Uganda, we don't vote by proxy, you have to be present.
Yes.
We do not have where people outside Uganda vote. And for someone to be on the voters list, first and foremost, on the register, it is very important that you're present, you have a national ID, and all this, then you... So how would then this be carried out? Is it going to be a person who was in diaspora that comes home and settles, and would that be real representation, or because he's going to be someone in another country, not Uganda, the technicality is there for?
You see, one thing I would like you to appreciate, it's that it's not that electioneering has taken place within the current place where the election is taking place. Countries all over the world, you can vote at the embassies. I think Mozambique has done so, South Africa has done so in Africa. So even in the US, some people were doing mail-in voting from the embassies. So we can have the same process, and I strongly believe that our president is looking at that, because we're a big constituency as NLM, and we strongly believe, not the old times when we thought that the biggest constituent outside the country was the opposition. We have a big constituency as NRM, and we can win elections and influence. So in that way, we can vote through the embassies, and we give representatives, because if you're really somebody of good standing, people will be knowing that, oh, there is a chairperson of UNA, there is a chairperson of an association in South Africa, or the one in the Turkey, or the one in the UK, and in that way we can vote through that and get a representative. And for those who would like to come back home and represent our people, yes, they will be, because they will be knowing exactly our problems, just like a constituency-based problem. That's why the representatives of the people from the constituency, they know the challenges of the people on the grassroots. That applies to the constituency called the diaspora.
One other issue that I also want you to throw more light is when it comes to investment. I've spoken to a few people from diaspora who always tell you that they want to be considered as investors coming from abroad, and not because they are Ugandans. So they benefit from these humongous tax holidays and all the privileges.
Yeah, that's a very important issue. You see, many times when you meet a Ugandan who wants to come back and invest, or he brings a few savings, on average you find an average Ugandan will bring, let's say, $100,000. Now, through the associations, what I would appeal to, for example, to Parliament to do, or to look at the diaspora is, through the diaspora investment forums, they say, okay, there's an association. These guys would love to set up, for example, a skilling facility in Namanve, or they would like to set up a brick making factory. Could they be looked at as investors and not be charged and say, you're bringing this money, it must be a tax attached to it, or these resources? If we can boost investment through our own people, to me, that's one way of boosting the diaspora to have an interest to make a development aspect within our country. If you can give it an Indian chap with a shop of cell phones at Kampala Street, why not give it to a Ugandan who's bringing $1 million? Or an association of Ugandans who would like to set up a hospital or what. So these are some of the things that we can lobby for. But because we don't have a representative, there's nobody who listens to us because they do not understand our challenges.
So let me better understand you when you talk about not having that audience or people that listen to you. You're the chairperson of the NRM in Diaspora. And of course, you've given us the contribution that you make, people in Diaspora. And then why would we think, or why do you feel that really your voices are not being listened to?
You know, you will understand that I will give an analogy of a Christian and God. The closer you get to God, the better you understand the God. And we had, for example, divisions of elections, and constituencies were huge. Like in Ankole, we had Ankole East and Ankole West, and you'd find that, for example, the Great Ambarara had one representative in the legislature at the time. But as populations kept on growing, the needs of the people keep on growing, the closer you get to the people, the better you understand them. You see, like when you look at the NRM concept, that the ROC, the Rwanda system, the ROC1 system, we wanted to get close to our people. And you see the strength, for example, of our party. It is the LOC, the local man on the ground, because we get to understand that there's a problem with the river there, there's a problem with the pit latrines, people are not minding the healthcare, there's a problem with the roofing of a school. So that's the closeness that we need to attach. It's not that we are not looked at, because they attach different ministries. We have Foreign Affairs Ministry with regional affairs and all that. But we feel that given a constituency, we shall be listened to right-hand man, right-hand person who understands the challenges of the diaspora. That is our view.
Very interesting. Many times we've been complaining of the size of parliament, and now we also see our brothers and sisters in diaspora saying, well, maybe the 12th parliament should not only have 529, but that is something. But anyway, that is their plea, because of they still need, if more space, then they will be able to ensure that they. But also, Philip, let's understand the role of the NRM diaspora. To what extent are you effective in the politics of this country?
All right. The NRM in the diaspora, I think it is the biggest organized gathering of a political grouping of Ugandans in the diaspora. Unlike other groupings that maybe we see on social media, speaking as individuals.
Which somehow looked out-competed you in terms of seeking publicity and attention.
Okay, you see, let me tell you, the strength of an organization is calmness. It's not about how much noise they make. But if at all, I saw the other day, they went to court and they said there should be voting of Ugandans in the diaspora come 2026. If that takes place, we can be able to tell who's stronger than the other. You see, Ugandans love the noise making. So the other day, the Red Ballets were making so much noise here in Kampala. Musaja agenda, taja kulaira, taja kusimbawo, and at the end, they were waiting for God, heavenly God, to bring rain, so that the swearing does not take place. But the intensity was in the voice of the people. And even those who call it people power, the people power is the power we see at the vote. So let's wait. They give the diaspora a chance to vote within the embassies. Then we can be able to tell who is stronger than the other. The voice makers on social media, or the rightful power, the mandate of the people, which is the vote.
Well,
Yes.
I'll still drive you more into local politics briefly. We're having the speakership race. And of course, this is something that has been on for some time. As people in diaspora, we know it's only members of parliament that actually the vote matters, but also we've seen the NRM caucus will also vote to find their choice. What is your take on this?
You see, we have two comrades, Comrade Kadaga and Comrade Olanya. One of the issues, Comrade Kadaga, I can say She's among the very first women revolutionaries who have served our revolutionary movement for longer, since 1989 to now. I think that's an impeachable record. Very many people have worked with our CIC, and they have, along the way, fallen off. But she has been a very steadfast cadre of the revolution. And she has been moving the agenda of the women, the agenda of the to liberate. She inspires the girl child out there. To have a speaker woman of parliament, it's a credible record. And the other day on social media, for us, remember in the diaspora, we see when she was launching her campaign, she said this when there were contentious issues. You see, in the liberation movement, there are certain times when issues become very tense. And she said, she said, according to her campaign manifesto, that the comrade in second in command in that part of the house would shy away from those contentious issues, the term limits, the age limit. So we thought that, we feel, some of us in the diaspora, that she has lived by example as a cadre of the revolutionary movement. However, we cannot take little about Comrade Olanya. He has done a great work. He pushed the amendment. You remember in 2005 when he joined from the Red Party to the Yellow Party. He was among the people as the chairperson of the legal committee. He did a great work. He saw the vision, to share the vision with our comrade leader of the revolution, the president. And that's not a very easy step. And he has been with us. So we strongly believe that the NRM caucus, under the guidance of the leadership of our CIC, you know, the CIC is a very strategic thinker. Like now we finished 2021, but he's embarking on 2026. Actually, for those who say that we are done, I think we are coming 2026. So they should start thinking about 2030 if they really think about the change. So he already knows which rightful cadre will be able to take on the mantle, looking at the challenges that we envisage in the next 11th Parliament. So we strongly believe that Comrade Kadaga could be well positioned, but it's we are not voters, like you said. But we believe that the caucus will do the right decision. But you know, one thing that I appreciated most is that the deputy speakership, we see some of our young comrades, our age mates in the late 30s and 40s, Comrade Tayebwa, coming up, and we feel that indeed, this is the transformation of the revolution. You know, in Christianity, when you spread the gospel, there must be disciples. So we feel that
convert to the faith.
To the faith. So we see that our comrade president has now the young tigers that will guard him and safeguard him. You know, our objective is to keep our president giving us some guidance for another probably 2030 there, so that you see, like the way you see your revolutionary movement, even Mandela was there to guide the ANC till the end. Comrade Mugabe was there to guide the ANC till the end. But our guys on the other side of the aisle, in the red, they are saying, hey, Musaja is an old man. An old man is wisdom.
Phil, let's
Thank you.
Take a look at one of the other challenges, that is the welfare of Ugandans in diaspora. Yes, many come home and paint it all rosary. But actually, some go through horrible, terrific ways to make ends meet. And that is why we've seen many even run to embassies saying situations are not good. They work. Sometimes they give in both the arm and the leg. As the NRM in diaspora, what are you doing to improve some of these, the livelihoods of these people? Some have ended up in very complicated crimes, drug trafficking, men are resorting to our sisters into prostitution. How do you come? Is it all about politics only?
No, you see, that's why you've raised a very important point. It's for that reason that we are saying, if we could make a grouping that is recognized by government, and to us as NRM, we are not running off from, I think we are the biggest people that have been supportive of these people crying out, even when we are talking about repatriation of Ugandans who are facing those dire challenges, like in China. Our presidential advisor on diaspora affairs, Comrade Abe Walusimbi, was able to engage the government, and we repatriated those Ugandans from China. So we believe that if there could be a grouping of, or an association of these fellows, like the Middle Eastern, the issue you're talking about is more in the Middle East. Like I said, Dubai, Oman, Abu Dhabi, and the Saudis.
Even South Africa.
Even in South Africa, we get them.
You know, if you are to count Ugandans that have died in robberies, you know, being shot at, lawbreakers there, the number is also not that bad.
The number is not that bad. But you see, at least, you see, South Africa, they have an association of those Ugandans within that caliber of work. Now we believe, and they have their chairman, Comrade Chibombo, is also an NRM cadre, and we have the ones in the Middle East are the ones who do not have a clear grouping. So if we can build on that and create an association, I strongly believe we can have a better audience. But you see, it comes out selectively. Somebody must come out to air out his grievance and say, oh, I am dying, and scream hard. But if we had an association, you see, one voice is much stronger than an individual man's voice. Whether it's a challenge, no kubenduru, a challenge chija, no mubiaduka. But wokubenduru no sigala bomu, it becomes very tricky. So, through government, either through the Ministry of Labor and Gender, they can create an app that communicates or an interactive app with all Ugandans, create a forum. It's fourth industrial revolution, whether it's a WhatsApp group and have emails, and we're able to convene in these different regions on an annual basis. So you'll be able to get all these grievances, and we can iron out, we understand. That's the call that we are making, that we need to be listened to. And how close can we be heard through the corridors of power that our challenges can be addressed?
Well, Philip, we must be heading to Parliament at exactly 8 a.m. for the final day of swearing in for MPs elect. But let me have your final remarks regarding the people in diaspora as the chairperson of the NRM.
We have hope that the current Parliament that is coming, or that is being sworn in, has our voices heard. They will be more heard, because we have, for example, our vice chairperson, Comrade Fredo Poloti from Soloti, has lived in the diaspora. He's a diasporian. We strongly believe that if we can have more of those voices, and we participate for those who can, please come back home, make a difference, either through other people, that the voice of the diaspora can be heard. But we shall continue to lobby our CIC through the NRM structures, so that we can get a clear organizational structure, and where we can air out views, galvanize the Ugandans in the diaspora, so that we can get better things done, and other than being misrepresented many times by the social media individuals that want to say what they say.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Philip Kakuru, who is the NRM chairperson of the people in diaspora, for having found time. We want to thank you, people in diaspora, those that have done good to our nation, to our country, for being far away from home, but with the love and heart for home. Anytime we must be connecting to Parliament, but very important that I've noticed, Philip saying they need parliamentary representation, because then their views will be better understood and represented on the floor for action. Have a lovely day. We'll be heading to the August House to witness the final day of the swearing in of members of Parliament. Good morning, and keep it on UBC TV.
Thank you, Robert.
Most welcome here.